Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chat with the Lawyer, and I'm Walla Blagay. And today we have a special guest, Josh Berman, a personal injury lawyer, and he's going to talk about what to do when you get in an accident. Now, I must note that Josh Berman was the rising star in Maryland, D.C. in the 2013 and 2014 Super Lawyers list. So we are here and honored to have him come and talk with us. So Josh, tell us a little bit about your practice.
Well, Walla, thank you very much for inviting me to be here. It's an honor to be here with you and the folks at home today. I work at a firm out of Rockville, Maryland. We practice in Prince George's County, all over Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. And my specialty area, as you said, is personal injury and civil litigation. I got into civil litigation and personal injury because I have a firsthand experience knowing what someone goes through when they've been involved in a collision or an injury. And when you've been in an injury, it's not just you that goes through the pain of being in an accident. It's your family, not knowing where the next paycheck is coming from because of your injuries, how the medical bills are going to be paid, and the adjustment that you have to make in your life, not just for you, but for your family as well, to accommodate the injury. So I have personal experience with my father being in a very bad collision, and I know how it hurts families to have a trauma like this, and it's an honor to represent families every day who've been in accidents.
Well, so tell us what happens. I just got in an accident. I'm distraught because my back hurts. I don't know what to do. What's the first steps? What should I do?
Well, the first step begins when you're on the side of the road after you've been hit. I always recommend to clients when they ask what to do when you've been in an accident, the very first step is to pull over to the side of the road, out of the way of any potential second accident that may occur onto the shoulder or a side street. Put your blinkers on and make yourself visible to other drivers who may be coming by. At that point, if you're able to, call the police. Have the police come for multiple reasons, mainly one, to document that the collision occurred, and two, to assist in the exchange of information with the at-fault driver, and three, to call a paramedic if you're injured and you need immediate medical treatment. If your injuries are very minor or you don't feel pain immediately at the scene and you're able to communicate with the other driver, I recommend going out and exchanging information. You want the driver's name, you want to see their driver's license, you want to get their insurance information. Ask to see their insurance card and write down the name of their policy, whether it's State Farm, Progressive, Geico, and get their policy number. Also, note the tag number of the vehicle, the make, model, and color. And if you have your camera phone on you, take pictures of both your vehicle as well as theirs, and take pictures of the scene as well so you can document where exactly the accident occurred. Typically, a lot of times people don't feel pain until a day or two after they've been in a collision. That's very common. We see that all the time, especially with injuries such as soft tissue injuries to your neck and lower back. But if you do start feeling immediate pain, ask to get an ambulance or drive yourself to the hospital if you can to seek immediate medical attention.
Now, we know that sometimes we've seen movies, we're very impressionable like what we see on TV, and we see that there are stories of lawyers going to the hospital, finding clients. Is that something that goes on in the state of Maryland? Like what, tell us a little more about that.
Well, the Maryland plaintiff's lawyer bar, the personal injury attorneys, actually we take great pride in the ethical rules we've set up to prevent runners or lawyers going to the hospital to track down clients. It's actually forbidden in our ethical rules, and we take it very seriously. In fact, the plaintiff's bar has a listserv where if we hear of lawyers doing that, we make sure it's reported to the Ethics Council right away.
And you say plaintiff's bar, what's the name of that bar?
The Maryland plaintiff's bar is called the Maryland Association for Justice.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so now when should the person call a lawyer? You said they call the police first. Should they call the lawyer second? When do they contact a lawyer?
Well, the first thing to do is to call the police and to seek medical attention if necessary. You don't know how serious your injuries are, and it's important that you get a medical expert to evaluate and make sure that everything's okay. I'd recommend seeing a lawyer as soon as possible after the collision, maybe the next day or a day or two later. And the reason why is because the next thing that you're going to do after you've been in an accident is inevitably you're going to be dealing with insurance companies. And what you have to keep in mind when you're dealing with an insurance company is this is a multi-billion-dollar industry and it's a business. And these insurance companies, the very first thing they do is they try to find ways to deny your claim. They'll try to find a way to deny the claim, to not pay at all. If they're unable to do that, their fallback default position is to minimize the value of the claim, to minimize the amount this business has to pay out. They'll minimize your injuries. They'll say you're not as injured as you think you are. They'll say your medical bills are unreasonable, that you treated for too long, and to say that the compensation that you're entitled to for your non-economic damages, meaning your pain and suffering, is much lower than you really may be entitled to. So the value and importance of getting a lawyer right away is, one, to help you investigate the accident and figure out all the facts and figure out the direction you need to take the case, but two, to protect your claim against the insurance company from it being denied altogether, as well as to ensure that you receive all the benefits that you're entitled under the insurance policies.
Interesting. Now, you talked a little bit about pain and suffering. Now, where does that fall in? Explain that to us.
Well, no one ever wants to be injured. No person who's in an accident wants to be hurt. But unfortunately, in these collisions, and there's something like 18 million collisions in the United States every year, 35,000 fatalities in the United States alone every year due to car accident cases. No one wants to be injured, though. And while the person who hit you, the at-fault party, can't take back the pain, they can't make the pain go away or take back the accident, the way we compensate victims for what they've been through, aside from paying for their medical bills, is we compensate them for their what's called non-economic damages. That means their pain, suffering, their inconvenience, compensation for the things that you can't do after the accident while you're treating. You know, your sleep may be affected. You may like going to the gym and be unable to go to the gym for a period of time. And you may have some type of future permanent disability, whether minor or major. And these are things that, because we can't take back the pain, as a society, we've decided that the responsible party will compensate the victim for their non-economic damages. Okay. And it varies from case to case what that amount you may be entitled to.
Now, does the lawyer determine that? How is that determined? Does someone come in your office and say, you know, pain and suffering is worth this?
It varies from case to case. And it's a really specialized niche look at, you know, the entirety of the circumstances. So every case is different. Everybody handles pain differently, and everybody's life is affected differently by pain. So you take a look at, you know, everything they've been through, the amount of the medical bills, whether there's a permanent injury and how long they were injured for, you know, the age of the victim, the you know, whether they have kids. You take a look at, you know, how long they were out of work, and you use that experience in knowing what juries and judges are typically awarding victims in the courtroom to negotiate with the insurance company to determine what an appropriate amount for pain and suffering would be. And that's really another good reason to speak to a personal injury lawyer, because while you may not be in an accident every day or be dealing with pain from an accident every day, personal injury attorneys such as myself are dealing with clients and working with clients who have been injured on a daily basis and are in the courtroom seeing what judges and juries are awarding for pain and suffering on a daily basis.
Okay. Well, what about slip and falls or maybe being hurt at a when you're eating something or drop something? What, you know, tell us a little bit about that, different injuries.
Well, personal injury attorneys handle a wide range of cases aside from car accident cases. Typically, when you hear of a personal injury lawyer, you hear of car accident, but you also hear of slip and fall cases when someone slips and fall on a property, dog bite cases, a medical malpractice. There's a wide range of injuries and instances where gaining or at least consulting with a personal injury lawyer is a valuable tool. And most personal injury attorneys do give consultations on a free basis. So even if you just think, do I have a claim against this person or this company? It doesn't hurt to go and speak to a lawyer to understand what your rights are and to know what you're entitled to under the law. Slip and fall cases are a perfect example. If you're in a giant grocery store, for example, or you're in a restaurant and you slip on some water and you injure yourself, you may be entitled to compensation for your injuries due to the negligence of the premises. Now, slip and fall cases, for example, you have to worry about proving that the establishment knew or should have known that dangerous condition was present. So it's somewhat tougher in a slip and fall case to prove that because the store's defense is always, well, how do we know that water wasn't spilled 2 minutes before you fell and I didn't have the opportunity to clean it up? Another reason to speak to a lawyer, to help build that case and discover the facts. For example, the average layperson may not know that these establishments are typically under video surveillance, and you need to act quick to ask for that surveillance to see what exactly happened and if you're entitled to compensation.
Interesting. Now we know recently, and it's not too long ago, there was a McDonald's case, a burn case, and can you tell us some more about that? We want to know. That didn't sound trivial to many, but to a personal injury lawyer, you can give us some insight.
These insurance companies are, multi-billion dollar companies. They focus on presenting a victim as being, greedy or taking advantage of the system. And there's cases like this McDonald's case that everybody knows that the insurance industry loves to point to as an example of why we need tort reform or why we should cut back on the number of lawsuits that victims file. But the real facts behind instances like that, the McDonald's hot coffee case, aren't very well known. Yeah, this lady was awarded a $2 million verdict when she spilled hot coffee on herself, but people don't know the facts of how it really happened. This was an elderly lady. She was parked in a parking lot with McDonald's coffee. McDonald's made a corporate decision to keep their coffee at 180 to 7 degrees Fahrenheit, way above a proper heat for consumption by the average consumer. Wow. And the reason they did that was because the hotter it was, the longer they could keep it on their shelves, and it would increase their profit margins. Now, 187 degrees Fahrenheit will give you a third-degree burn within a couple of seconds. So McDonald's was serving coffee at a temperature that was bound to give you a third-degree burn had it made contact with your skin for even 2 or 3 seconds. This lady spilled the coffee on her lap, and her injuries were so bad that she needed a skin graft. Wow. Her medical bills were $20,000, and what people don't realize is that what this lady was asking for was simply her medical bills to be paid. Right. That's all she wanted. She didn't want money for pain and suffering. She wanted her medical bills paid. McDonald's told her to go kick rocks, and she filed a lawsuit.
And she won.
And she won. And people think, $2 million sounds outrageous, but when the jury was interviewed after they were told of the, they heard the facts, they heard how McDonald's had made their coffee hot, too hot on purpose to increase their profit margins, they decided to inflict what are called punitive damages on McDonald's. And the way they came up with the $2 million figure was that was one day's profits off of coffee sales for McDonald's in the United States.
Well, Josh, that has been very insightful and a lesson to all of us. And we're going to take a short break and come back and talk about dog bites and other issues. So thank you. Stay with us.
This neighborhood sure has changed a lot over the years. You know, there was a time when people like me couldn't live here. I will never forget being told I wasn't welcome in this neighborhood. Well, I own this building now. The Fair Housing Act made a difference for someone like me, so I can choose where I want to live, free from discrimination. Glad you could make it. Right this way.
What if you could unleash your child's creativity while preparing them for a successful future? What if you could ignite your child's love of learning with one after-school program? What if that one program was easy and fun and taught critical thinking, teamwork, and communication? Destination Imagination is the one. Destination Imagination has been teaching kids teamwork, creativity, and problem solving for more than 25 years. Our students report increased ability to excel at school. Teachers report better attention and participation in our students. A major university study has documented how our students are ahead of others in creativity and innovation, skills that employers want and our future needs. To learn more about Destination Imagination, go to www.startateam.org and make Destination Imagination the one for you.
It's from a place of love that I became an activist. It is just a fabulous area, full of life. It's one of the few areas of temperate whole-growth forest left on the planet. In the early 90s, it looked like all of the intact forest would be clear-cut logged, and it was very devastating to think of that possibility. So it was quite a pivotal time right then to take action when we did.
1/3 of the massive Great Bear Rainforest will now be protected from all logging. We're talking about an area the size of Switzerland.
Having the Great Bear Rainforest protected now really means a lot to our community. I would say we're part of the environment just like the animals are. The greatest thing that I enjoy is seeing a total stranger respect this area. We're hoping that years down the line, this place will still be looking the same as it does right now.
Welcome back to Chat with the Lawyer, and we're discussing personal injury issues with Josh Berman. Now, Josh, let's talk about affording a lawyer. Many people think, I don't have money, my account is short, and I got in this accident. I mean, should I even sue? Can I afford a lawyer? So tell us a little bit more about that.
That's a very good question, and it's a concern that my clients always have, especially because when you've been in an accident, you're injured, you have medical bills piling up, you're out of work, you don't know when your next paycheck is coming in, and the last thing you can afford is a lawyer. Well, my firm and most other personal injury lawyers work on what's called a contingency fee basis. You should expect a free consultation just to understand your rights from a personal injury lawyer. And once you find the lawyer that you like to work with, most personal injury lawyers work on a contingency fee basis, meaning they don't collect unless you recover. Usually it's about a 1/3 contingency fee. So if a lawyer gets you a $30,000 recovery, they'd ask for $10,000 out of your settlement, which is customary throughout the industry. And this really takes the pressure off of the victim and the client because they don't have to worry about paying a lawyer if they lose their case or if they don't make a recovery.
Interesting. Well, and we know that personal injury law is a state-by-state issue. And many states are different from Maryland. Now, how does Maryland's law differ from Virginia or other neighboring states?
Well, that's a very good point. Maryland is very different from a lot of other states in the way we evaluate our claims and assess fault. And nobody's aware of this until after they've been in an accident, but Maryland is one of a few states left that follows a law called contributory negligence. Now, In Maryland, that means that if you're even 1% at fault for a collision or your injury, 1%, you're completely barred from a recovery. And
So give us an example. How does that work out?
sure, so if you're speeding, for example, and someone else runs a red light and hits you, but the insurance company can prove that the fact that you're going 10 miles over the speed limit contributed a little bit to being in that accident, you're completely barred from recovery. Most other states, about 47 of the 50 states, do it comparatively, where the trier of fact, meaning the judge or jury, will apportion fault by percentage, and the percentage you're at fault will be deducted from the value of your claim or the amount you're able to recover. But in Maryland, 1% means zero recovery. And as we discussed earlier, the very first thing an insurance company does is try to find the way to find that 1%, because they know if they could find 1% fault, they won't have to pay anything.
Oh, interesting. Now, we can go and talk about dog bites, pit bulls. Is there any type of liability with owning a pet that it might be dangerous?
Yeah, well, that's been a very hot button issue in Maryland, especially lately, because the law is starting to change. And a lot of people, own pit bulls. Some of them are very good dogs, but they have a reputation of being aggressive dogs. And in Prince George's County, for example, it's a law that owning a pit bull technically is illegal. And just the mere act of owning a pit bull, if that pit bull causes an injury to somebody else, you may be personally responsible for the damages that the bite causes. Now, it's important to note in dog bite cases that if you do own a pit bull or a dog that bites somebody, if you're a homeowner, contact your homeowner's or renter's insurance immediately, because typically a homeowner's policy will provide insurance coverage, somewhat like an automobile insurance policy will, if your dog bites somebody. In Maryland, you have to prove in a dog bite case notice, meaning that the person knew the dog was a dangerous dog. And typically the way a victim can prove notice in a dog bite case is if the dog had bitten before and the owner knew the dog had bitten before. But oftentimes, if it's the first time a dog is bitten, there's no notice that the dog was dangerous or had dangerous propensities, so the person wouldn't be able to recover. Maryland law is starting to change on that a little bit, especially for pit bulls. Pit bulls, in a lot of jurisdictions, Prince George's County being one of them, are considered per se dangerous, meaning that the mere act of owning a pit bull in itself gives you notice that it has the propensity to bite.
Interesting. And are they changing the law now in the state of Maryland?
The Court of Appeals has recently heard a case involving a pit bull outside of Prince George's County, where the Court of Appeals said, yes, a pit bull is a dangerous animal, and an owner of a pit bull should be held strictly liable for owning a pit bull. Now, the Maryland legislature is currently in the process of changing the law and walking back that decision a little bit. It's something that's still up in the air and being debated about what the status of pit bulls should be. But owners of pit bulls should know that there is some potential liability of owning a pit bull.
Now let's talk about property damage. Like, what if I'm driving down the road, I get hit, my car is completely totaled. What do I do from there? How am I able to get another car payment?
Sure. Well, when you're at fault, or when someone else is at fault and they cause damage to your car, there's two special considerations that people should consider. The first is that if your car is totaled and it's a brand new car, the value of your car might be less than the loan that you have on the car. The insurance company is only obligated to pay you the Blue Book value if the car is totaled. It's important that people get something called gap insurance that will cover the difference between their totaled car's value and the amount that there may be on the financing for the car. Otherwise, you may be stuck for that difference, and it could be a couple $1,000s between the value and the loan. It's important, to speak to your financing company and to see if gap insurance is something that could benefit you.
Now let's clarify, gap insurance, is that something that's offered when you buy the car?
It's
where do you get gap insurance?
It's typically offered when you buy the car, but it's something that you could potentially add on afterwards. The other consideration in property damage is that if you have a brand new Mercedes, for example, and your car has been hit from behind and it sustains damage, the value of your car goes down. And this isn't something an insurance company will volunteer to you, but the value of your car is less than what it was before the accident, and you're entitled to get the diminution in value of your vehicle back. And people often leave thousands of dollars on the table because they don't know they're entitled to that.
But you're a good lawyer, and you'll make sure that they know.
Well, a good lawyer will always look at the make and model of the car, the amount of the property damage, and be able to advise their client whether a diminution value claim is worthwhile to pursue.
Well, what about if I'm in a car, I get hit, and I am damaged, my back hurts, everything's broken, and how do I pay for that? I don't have any money. How am I going to pay for that?
Well, one of the worst things a client tells me is that I waited to get treated because I wasn't sure if I could pay for my medical bills. People will go weeks without seeking treatment because they're afraid of how they're going to pay for the bills. And it's bad because, one, you're not getting any better. In fact, your injuries are getting worse and you need this treatment. But two, that gap in treatment, the insurance company will use to say you weren't injured. If you were injured, you would have gone and seen a doctor immediately. There's many different options for financing or paying for your medical bills, or at least delaying payment of your medical bills until after an insurance settlement is reached. And any personal injury attorney will explain those options to their client. The first option that you should be aware of is called personal injury protection insurance. Now, almost all of us in Maryland have PIP coverage unless we've waived it. It's typically $2,500, and it's money that's available regardless of fault in an accident under your own insurance to pay for your co-pays, your out-of-pockets, as well as up to 85% of your lost wages to help get you over until a settlement is reached with the at-fault party. And typically that's about $2,500 of coverage in Maryland. Sometimes it's more, sometimes people waived it, but $2,500 is average. The second thing that you should be aware of is that many lawyers work with certain orthopedic doctors, therapists, chiropractors that will work on an assignment basis. There's doctors out there who understand how difficult it is to be in an accident and will actually wait to collect on their medical bills until your case is resolved. And if you're concerned about how your medical bills should be paid, go out and see a lawyer and see if they could put you in touch with some of these doctors who will work on this assignment basis.
All right. Well, again, if somebody is hit, injured, tell our audience who they should contact.
Well, I'd be happy to give anybody a free consultation. My firm is called Rowe Weinstein and Sohn. My name is Josh Berman. You can reach me at 301-770-4710, or you could check out our website at www.rowepllc.com.
All right. And if you have any questions or concerns, please contact us at chatwiththelawyer@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.